You think your silence is power. You think if you disappear, she'll feel the loss and come running. But the truth is, she doesn't care when you go silent because your silence isn't strength. It's a tantrum in a tuxedo. You need to hear this without the sugar. The go silent move only works in your head because it lets you pretend you're in control while you're actually spiraling. It gives you a quick hit of dignity while your self-respect is leaking out the bottom. You call it protecting your peace. Half the time, it's you trying to punish her for not reacting the way you wanted. And if that stings, good. Because the sting is reality tapping you on the shoulder. If you're the kind of man who needs the truth repeated until it sinks in, you need to subscribe now. Not for me, for you. Because your emotions will lie to you at 2 a.m. and tell you that disappearing is discipline. You need reminders that discipline doesn't look like sulking in the dark. It looks like standing in the light and making decisions you can respect tomorrow. Here's the thesis, clear and clean. When she doesn't care that you went silent, it doesn't mean she's heartless. It means she doesn't experience your silence as value. She experiences it as absence, as instability, as here we go again. And the more you do it, the less it registers as power and the more it registers as noise. Let's build the ladder. The misconception is simple. You believe attention is your leverage. You believe if you remove attention, you remove comfort, and she'll chase comfort. That's the fantasy. That's the movie you play in your head where she stares at her phone, panics, realizes she might lose you, and writes a long paragraph confessing her feelings. That movie is comforting. It's also usually fake. Hard truth. Silence only creates value when your presence was valuable in the first place. If your presence felt inconsistent, needy, performative, or transactional, your silence feels like relief, not loss. Read that again. If you were showing up with hidden hooks, she doesn't miss you. She exhales when you leave. And now the part you don't want to admit. Most men don't go silent because they're unbothered. They go silent because they are very bothered and they don't know what to do with it. That's called emotional avoidance. That's called covert control. That's called outsourcing your self-worth to her reaction. You stop texting. You stop calling. You stop looking at her stories. You stop being available. And you tell yourself you're finally choosing yourself. But inside, you're refreshing the screen. You're counting hours. You're waiting for the notification like it's a verdict. That's not choosing yourself. That's bargaining with anxiety. So why does she not care? Because women, and people in general, respond to patterns, not performances. If your pattern is connect, get insecure, withdraw, reappear, demand reassurance, then withdraw again, she's not seeing a strong man setting boundaries. She's seeing a boy yanking the steering wheel every time he feels a bump. And here's what's brutal. If she's emotionally mature, she won't chase that. She'll respect herself enough not to participate. If she's emotionally immature, she might chase at first, but not because she values you, because she's addicted to chaos. Either way, your silence doesn't build the relationship. It reveals what you're made of. Let me define something for you. There's a difference between silence and distance. Silence is a tactic. Distance is a decision. Silence is, I hope you feel this. Distance is, I've seen enough and I'm moving accordingly. Silence is designed to create anxiety in the other person. Distance is designed to create clarity in you. When you go silent as a tactic, you're still tethered. You're just holding the rope behind your back and pretending you let go. And because you're still tethered, she feels it. People feel the energy behind behavior. They feel when you're not speaking to communicate peace, but to provoke a reaction. They may not be able to articulate it, but they can sense the agenda. And nothing kills attraction faster than an agenda disguised as strength. Now let's talk root cause. The root cause is not she's cold. The root cause is you have no solid center. Not yet. You don't have a life that is so grounded, so purposeful, so full that her response becomes a bonus instead of a lifeline. So when she pulls back, you don't simply notice and adjust. You panic. And panic loves two costumes, rage and silence. You want her to validate your value because you're not validating it yourself through your actions. That's the real reason you go silent. Not because you're powerful, because you're afraid you're not enough and you're trying to force the world to contradict that fear. And what does it cost you? It costs you your identity because every time you go silent to get a reaction, you train yourself to believe you can't handle honest communication. You train yourself to believe the only way to have leverage is to disappear. You train yourself to abandon your own standards the moment your feelings spike. It costs you respect, not because she's mean, because respect follows consistency. A man who only communicates when he feels safe is not consistent. A man who disappears when he's uncomfortable is not stable. And a woman who wants a secure bond, whether she says it or not, will stop relying on you. It costs you your options. Because while you're busy trying to win one person's attention with silence, you're neglecting the things that actually make you a man with choices. Your fitness, your finances, your friendships, your skills, your peace, your mission, and the worst cost. You start believing your own lie. You start calling your withdrawal boundaries. You start calling your anxiety intuition. You start calling your inability to communicate stoicism. That's called self-deception. So here's the reframe that changes everything. Your goal is not to make her care when you go silent. Your goal is to become the kind of man whose presence is felt because it's real and whose absence is respected because it's clean. Clean absence. That's the standard, not the dramatic disappearance, not the social media theatrics, not the watch me, not watch you. Clean absence means if you step away, it's because you mean it. You said what you meant, and you're not coming back until the situation aligns with your standards. Now, I'm going to say something that will separate you from most men. A woman doesn't chase silence. She responds to certainty. Certainty is attractive because it's rare. Certainty doesn't beg. Certainty doesn't threaten. Certainty doesn't hide behind a strategy. Certainty shows up, speaks plainly, and then lives a life that proves it wasn't a bluff. You want her to feel the weight of losing you? Then become weight. Become substance. Become a man whose day is built, whose values are clear, whose boundaries are enforced without theatrics. Let me paint the archetype for you. The man who gets this right doesn't go silent. He goes focused. He doesn't vanish to punish. He steps back to recalibrate. He doesn't leave breadcrumbs. He doesn't send mixed signals. He doesn't do the weak version of power where you try to control her emotions because you can't control yours. He's calm but not passive, direct but not cruel. He speaks in sentences, not hints. He doesn't weaponize attention. He doesn't trade affection for obedience. He doesn't chase someone who's unsure about him, and he doesn't punish them either. He simply moves. This man has boundaries, and here's the part you need to understand. Boundaries are not words. Boundaries are behavior. He doesn't say, I don't like inconsistency, and then accept inconsistency for 6 months while calling it patience. That's not patience. That's fear of being alone. He doesn't say, I need respect, and then tolerate disrespect because he's hoping for a different version of her to show up. That's not love. That's addiction to potential. He doesn't say, I'm a high-value man, while his habits are low value. He builds value, quietly, daily, without announcing it. And because his life has gravity, he doesn't need tactics. He doesn't need the silent treatment. The silent treatment is what you use when you have no leverage except emotional pressure. Now, actionable. You want to know what to do instead? Good, because feelings don't change your life. Actions do. First, stop calling it going silent. Call it what it is in your specific case. Are you overwhelmed? Call it overwhelmed. Are you hurt? Call it hurt. Are you angry? Call it angry. Are you confused? Call it confused. Put a real name on it. Because when you name it, you can lead it. When you hide it, it leads you. Second, if you need space, take space like a man, not like a ghost. You communicate it once, calmly, without blame. You say what's true, what you want, and what you're going to do. No essays, no accusations, no you always, no courtroom energy, just clarity. Something like, I'm noticing this dynamic isn't working for me. I'm going to take a few days to reset. If we continue, it needs to be more consistent. Then you shut up, not to punish, to follow through. That's called congruence. Third, remove the hidden contract. The hidden contract is, if I do X, you must do Y. If you're being kind, so she'll act right, you're not being kind. You're negotiating. If you're being distant, so she'll chase, you're not being distant. You're baiting, drop the bait, live without the hidden contract. Fourth, Stop monitoring her like she's the stock market and you're trying to time the entry. Stop staring at her last scene. Stop decoding emojis. Stop reading her tone like it's a prophecy. That's not masculinity. That's obsession with control. And obsession is the fastest way to become unattractive to yourself. Fifth, rebuild your core. Because if she is your core, you will always act like a starving man near a bakery. You'll call it love, but it'll be hunger. So you lift, you work, you sleep, you handle your money, you clean your environment, you keep promises to yourself, you get around men who tell you the truth, you become busy with purpose, not busy with distraction. You don't do this to get her back, you do this to get you back. Now let's address the part you're scared of. What if she never reaches out? Good. Painful? Yes. But good. Because then you're not dealing with a communication problem. You're dealing with reality, and reality is a gift when you stop fighting it. If she doesn't care when you go silent, one of a few things is true. Either she never valued you the way you hoped, or she valued you, but she values herself enough not to chase emotional games. Or she's emotionally checked out because the connection has been eroded by inconsistency. Or she's simply not your person. And here's the question you need to ask yourself, the one you've been dodging. Are you trying to keep her, or are you trying to avoid the feeling of being rejected? Because those are different motives. One is love, the other is ego. A man with self-respect doesn't build a relationship on fear. He doesn't try to trap someone into choosing him. He doesn't need a hostage to feel valuable. He wants mutual desire, mutual effort, mutual respect. If it's not mutual, he doesn't scream. He doesn't beg. He doesn't vanish and hope she suffers. He simply removes access. That's called standards. Now let's get specific with a tight sequence because I know you want something concrete. Stop using silence to test her. Stop using distance to manipulate outcomes. Stop using withdrawal to avoid hard conversations. Do communicate early, not late. Do state what you want plainly. Do ask direct questions you're willing to hear the answer to. Do watch behavior more than words. Do match effort. Don't overinvest to compensate for anxiety. Do walk away clean if your standards aren't met. And when you walk away like it's final. Not like it's a pause button you press to see if she panics. Because the man you're becoming doesn't need panic to feel chosen. He chooses himself first. You might be thinking, but what if I'm the one who always initiates? What if I stop and nothing happens? Then you learn something valuable. You learn you were carrying the connection. And if you were carrying it, it was never stable. It was never safe. It was a performance. You want love that lasts? Then you need honesty that stings. Here's another definition you need. Chasing is when you continue investing in someone who is not reciprocating. Leading is when you show the way with standards and invite someone to meet you there. If they don't, you don't chase them down the street. You keep walking. That's the difference. And yes, you can still care. You can still have feelings. You can still miss her. Masculinity isn't emotional numbness. Masculinity is emotional responsibility. You don't have to be cold. You have to be solid. Solid means you can feel disappointment without turning it into punishment. Solid means you can feel desire without turning it into desperation. Solid means you can want her without needing her. And when you reach that place, something wild happens. Your communication gets calmer. Your decisions get cleaner. Your presence gets heavier. You stop doing things for outcomes and start doing things for alignment. And women, good women, feel that. Because it's rare to meet a man who doesn't need to win every moment to feel okay. A man who can say, this doesn't work for me, without hatred. A man who can leave without revenge. A man who can stay without losing himself. That's the man you're aiming at. Now, I'm going to confront the last illusion. You think the goal is to make her regret you. That's ego talking. Ego wants her to suffer so you can feel powerful. But power built on her suffering is fragile. It collapses the second someone else rejects you. Real power is when you don't need her regret. You need your respect, because your respect is the only thing you take with you everywhere you go. If she comes back, you don't celebrate too early. You don't punish her. You don't act like a king who finally got tribute. You evaluate. You watch consistency. You require effort. You move slow. You let her earn access, not because you're bitter, but because you're wise. And if she doesn't come back, you don't crumble. You don't stalk. You don't post quotes. You don't try to be seen. You grieve like a man. You learn. You level up. You move forward quietly. Let me say it like this. Silence is not your sword. It's your shield. And if you're always shielding, it means you're always in fear. So instead of going silent, you do something more dangerous. You tell the truth. You tell the truth about what you want. You tell the truth about what you won't accept. You tell the truth about what you feel without making it her job to fix you. You tell the truth and then you back it up with action. That's leadership in a relationship, in life, in yourself. And yes, it might mean you lose her. But if telling the truth loses her, what did you actually have? A real connection can handle a real conversation. A real woman can handle a man with a spine. And if she can't, you're not losing love. You're losing a lesson that was getting expensive. Now listen closely, because this is the identity reset. You are not the man who begs for attention by removing it. You are not the man who tries to be missed because he doesn't know how to be felt. You are not the man who disappears and calls it discipline while his mind is chained to her reply. You are the man who builds a life. You are the man who speaks plainly. You are the man who sets the tone. You are the man who can walk away without hatred and stay without shrinking. You don't need to be chosen to be valuable. You need to be aligned to be unstoppable. So the next time you feel that urge to go silent, pause. Ask yourself, am I creating peace or am I trying to create pain? Am I stepping back for clarity or am I pulling away for control? Am I protecting my standards or am I protecting my ego? Answer honestly, then act accordingly. Because you are the answer, not her reaction, not her apology, not her panic, you. And if you want more of this, more truth, more clarity, more straight talk that pulls you out of your own fog, subscribe. Not because I need a number, because you need a compass. And you're building with men here who are done blaming, done begging, done performing, and ready to live with self-respect.